Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Yomi, which is Yevamos Kuf Chaf Aleph. We are holding 3 lines from the top of the Amud. Rabbi Yehuda Omer loy kol v'chulu. In the Mishnah we learned that up until 3 days of a tragic event, of a drowning, etc., one can still identify the victim. But past 3 days, you can't really identify him with certainty. Rabbi Yehuda says, don't set it at 3 days. It all depends on the circumstance. There are many factors at play that can influence, that can impact the ability or inability to identify him. For instance, one's body build. For instance, the weather. For instance, the climate. All kinds of factors to consider. The question is like this: Rabbi Yehuda Bava le'akula palig. Was he trying to be makel? Sometimes it extends past 3 days. One can still be intact when it's beyond your 3-day deadline. Or perhaps he was going the other way. Sometimes it's even less than 3 days, all depending on the circumstances. Tashma, here comes a right. Tahu Gavra, there was this fellow, the Tava, who drowned Bekarmi in this town Karmi. They brought him out to Behedya. It was already after 3 days. Lebasart loso yamin. It was past 3 days from the incident. And they thought they identified him, and it served to confirm his death. In fact, Va'ansavar of Dimi, Minardar of Dimi, allowed his wife to remarry. Lidvisu allowed his wife to remarry. Even after 3 days. Apparently, he was following Rabbi Yehuda's shita. Not even after 3 days. At times, you can identify, you can recognize the person. And in fact, that's what he was banking on. Vesud, there was another story of Ahu Gavra, this fellow, Da'at Bahu, drowned Diglas in this river Diglas. Va'asku Agishra, and they brought him out of the water onto the bridge, the Gishra, the bridge, this Shivastana, this place Shivastana. Va'ansaba Rav Ladvisu, and Rav allowed his wife to remarry. Apumadishu Shvini, based on the testimony of his friends who identified him, and it was Lebasar Chamisha Yom, after 5 days of the incident. Now, in Yevamos B'Shleima Lekula Palig, this works well if, in fact, Rabbi Yehuda Bava was trying to extend the time frame past 3 days. That explains why, in these cases, where it was past 3 days, they were matir. Inu da'avid ki Rabbi Yehuda Bava, because they in fact followed Rabbi Yehuda's shita. Elei amras l'chumra palig. However, if you claim that he was trying to be machmer, less than 3 days, but never more, inu da'avid kiman. These chachamim who were matir after 3 days, whose shita were they following? There is no such shita. Answers the Gemara, perhaps here it's different. Typically 3 days is considered the deadline, but shani maya, when one is immersed in water, that watery effect helps him remain intact. It samsi, it dries it, it sort of shrivels, keeps the person intact, and prevents disfiguration and bloating. So typically, perhaps 3 days is the max. And maybe Rabbi Yehuda was trying to be machmer for less than 3 days, depending on the factors involved. But when water is involved, all agree it can extend the time frame. Says the Gemara, what do you mean? But Amris, haven't you told me just yesterday, Maya marzumaka? Maya can intensify, can aggravate a wound. So if anything, water just makes things worse. True. When there is a wound, so water comes in and aggravates it. But here, a person wasn't wounded, he just drowned it. A person's still intact. Mitzmas tsamis, it has the opposite effect. It keeps the person in shape, intact, and perfectly identifiable. Vahani mili, this only applies as soon as they pulled him out of the water, they saw him right at that moment, immediately after being removed from the water, Avali shtai, but if they allow them to linger, mitfach, tafach, a person can bloat. Is more likely to bloat after having been immersed in water for a prolonged period of time. In that case, you can no longer rely on your recognition. Continues the Mishnah. Nafal l'mayim, a fellow dropped into the waters and was never to be seen again. What is the halacha regarding his wife's remarriage? So it depends what type of water, how large. Bein sheyesh lahen seif. So if this body of water has a defined end, meaning you stand here and you see the end, whether it's that type of water, bein she'ein lahen seif, or even if it does not have a visible end, it's extra large body of water, you stand here, you can't necessarily see all four sides. In either case, ishtoi asura, this is Rabbi Meir's Shita, a chiddush, that irrespective of what type of body of water, small body of water, large body of water, you never know. Perhaps this fellow is tucked beneath in some, fish hollow, in some tunnel, where he's still living. He found some pocket of air, which allows him to survive. So unless you can actually have definitive confirmation of his passing, his wife is asur. Rabbi Meir, I'll prove this halacha with a story. This fellow fell into this large water pit. 3 days later, here he was. Apparently you can survive even under those conditions. Rabbi Yossi disagrees. If it's a small body of water, in which case you can see whether he came up from the other side, then if he didn't emerge, he's presumed dead. If it's yesh lahem, if it's ein lahem seif, which means that if you're standing here where that person dropped into the water, you cannot necessarily discern the boundaries of the water, a huge river, a huge lake, then I agree there's a problem, because maybe the current swept him, the waves tugged him to the side, out of sight, and that's when he emerged. So if it's yesh lahem, so if there's a defined ending, you see what it's all about, then after a while he's confirmed to be mace. But if it's ein lahem seif, it's too far, it's too large for you to notice the end, then you never know what happened to this person, and his wife is an akuna. On Rabbi Yossi, he's going to prove his shita with the following story. Maasa besuma, an incident involving a blind man. Shior litbo b'ma'ari, went down to the cave to be toivel. V'yorad moishchei achrav, and his escort went after him. And both fellows were never to be heard from again. They did not emerge. So what did the Chachamim do? V'show, they waited around, kadesha teitzi nafshem, sufficient time which would confirm their death. V'yisiu esn sheiseyim, and they allowed their wives to remarry. Apparently, if it's a mayim sheyesh lahem seif, if it's a defined body of water, the fellow didn't surface, you assume that he died. V'shuv ma'aset, was another story about Asya, in this place, Asya be'echad. There was this fellow, shel shalu layam, they lowered him into the yam. He went for an underwater expedition. He also he only came up with his foot. He was gone. Amr Chacham, what did the Chachamim say? Min har kuva ulamala tinasi. If his foot was severed at a point which was above the knee, tinasi, she can remarry. You assume he didn't survive. Min har kuva ulamata tinasi. What was beneath the knee, he can survive even without that portion of his leg. She cannot remarry. Why? Because this was a mayim she'ein lahem seif, a very large body of water, in which case you can never know. Perhaps he was swept over to the other side and emerged there unnoticed. Tan Rabbanon, his fellow fell into a body of water. Bein she'ish lahem seif, bein she'ein lahem seif, ishte asura. Whether it's this type or that type of body, doesn't matter what type of water. You never know. Perhaps this person is miraculously surviving beneath the water. David Rabbi Meir. No. All depends how big, how large that body of water is. Maim she'esh lahem soif. If it has a soif, you see the end, and you see he's nowhere to be found. Ishtir muteris, his wife is mutter. He's presumed mace. V'she'ein lahem soif, but if you can't necessarily define all the boundaries, you don't see the ending of the lake, ishti asura, in this case, you never know. His wife remains asur, remains in limbo until you have confirmed verification. How exactly do we define a mayim sheish lahem soif? Amar Abaye kol she'omed. This fellow fell into the water. At that point, where the incident took place, you stand right there, and you can see to all four sides. That's called yesh lahem soif. So after a while, there's no trace of the victim. You know he's no longer amongst the living. But otherwise, you never know. Maybe he emerged from the far side, which was out of your field of vision. A couple of years back here in Toronto, there was a fellow who went missing after a boating accident. And for the first couple of days, they suspected that perhaps he's amongst the living, perhaps he was unconscious and floated off to an island. And we went a whole bunch of groups of people who went to search for him. And they took out boats and all types of canoes and boats, and they had on foot trackers, and there was no way of determining, no way of confirming his situation, because the place was huge. It was a lake up north near North Bay, Ontario. It was like one of the biggest lakes I've ever seen. You stand in the middle, you cannot see the end. It's like an ocean. That's a true mayim she'ein lahem soif. No way of knowing what happened to this fellow. There are all kinds of theories and speculations. Perhaps he floated off to the other side. They spent weeks looking for him. In any case, his wife was in Aguna for a while, until the next spring, when two fishermen, a father and son, were fishing on the other side of the lake, totally on the other side. You see, the experts were saying that the current would carry him in this direction. And that's where they focused. That's where they had these sonar boats and the infrared helicopter. They were looking at a certain area of the lake. Turns out that they found him on the other side, and this fellow collected his reward. And Baruch Hashem, his wife was freed from her status, and eventually she remarried, Baruch Hashem. But the idea of mayim she'ein lahem soif makes very much sense. You have no idea. If you can't see the other side, so you need confirmation before the isha becomes mutter. So that's the gather of mayim she'ein lahem soif. You have to be able to see all four sides. Says the Gemara, who gavra? There was this fellow, the tava ba'agma de samki. He drowned in this agam. It's like a marsh, like a lake. Stationary, still waters. Not much current going on. It was the agam of the place called Samke. Agma de Samke. Anseba Rav Shila Ledvisu. This fellow drowned, and his wife became mutter. Rav Shila gave her the yeter. And the point is, it was a large body of water. Elam soif. But he made exception in this case, as we'll see soon. Amalei Rav l'Shmuel. So Rav turns to Shmuel. Why did Rav Shila give the heter? It's inappropriate. Ta kam neshamte. Let's apply a cherem to Rav Shila for being mater and ishes ish prior to confirmation of her husband's death. Amar lei. So Shmuel says, let's hold up for a second before we apply a cherem and resort to severe, drastic measures against the Talmud Chacham. Let's confront him. Nishlach lei. Bereisha. Let's first ask him what he did and why he did it. Okay, sholchu lei. So I sent him a test. I asked him a question. Mayim she'ein lahem soif. This type of water. Ishtay asura oy muteres. Is his wife asura muter? Sholach lehu ishtay asura. So he responds, of course she's asur. Ein lahem soif. Of course she's asur. Now the truth is that we're going to see this soon. Minat Torah, she's mutter even in this case. Most likely, the man was mace. Roiv points to Misa, but because it's arayis, it's eshes ish, we are machmer midrabanan that lechatchila. One should not remarry under these circumstances. So he agreed. He says, yeah, for sure, she's an asur. Next question they asked him. Va'agma de samki. Please tell us this particular body of water that we are dealing with. How do you classify that? Maim sheyesh lahem soif? Oy maim she'ein lahem soif? Which one is it? Yesh lahem soif or ein lahem soif? Shalach lu, he responded, well, of course, maim she'ein lahem soif. It's ein lahem soif. So he answered correctly on both questions. Maim she'ein lahem soif, who? Okay, now came the third question. Umar my time of adhachi. So why did you give her the yater? Her husband drowned in this body of water, which you classify as an ein lahem soif. It's unlimited, unknown. And she's asur. He responds, Mita ta'ina, true. I made a mistake. In concept, I knew the halacha, but I made a mistake in terms of application. I know, Savri, I figured, given the cover of the since this particular body of water is still and stationary without much current going through it, I treated it like a maim sheyesh lahem soif. The whole point is that the current and the waves might have swept the person to the other side. Here, even though it's a large body of water, but what are the chances of this fellow dropping right here and ending on the other side when there's nothing going on, there's no current sweeping that person? So since he didn't emerge, he was presumed mazed. That was my thinking. But actually it's incorrect. Given the Ikar Gali, since it ultimately has waves, the wind creates waves. Amor will say Gali, the waves Ashpilu carried him over to the other side. So that was my mistake. I thought lack of current would make for heter, and the truth is, even in the absence of current, there's still going to be waves, and therefore there's always a chashash. The victim was carried to the far side, out of sight. Kari Shmuel leda Rav. So Rav was the one who wanted to make a cherem, and now he was pacified, so to speak, through his response. It wasn't something deliberate, it was a toast and halacha. So Shmuel was satisfied that Rav was spared from applying a cherem, unjustified cherem on Rav Shila. So Kari Shmuel led Rav. Shmuel declared, applied on Rav the pasuk lo yu'una la tzaddik kol oven. Hashem prevents a tzaddik. He spares a tzaddik from wrongdoing. Hashem spared Rav at the last moment from applying a cherem on a tzaddik. Kari Rav led Shmuel. So Rav in turn applies onto Shmuel the pasuk uteshua b'Rav Yoit. My salvation was due to the fact that I sought your advice. It's always good to seek counsel and advice from others before proceeding in haste. Tanya, we learned in the Bryce. Amar Rabbi, Maaseh b'shnei b'nei Adam. It was a story involving two individuals, fishermen, mechamrin, machmerin. They were spreading these fishing nets. They were going fishing. Biyardin in the Jordan River. V'nichnas echad mehem lemechilo shel dogim. And one of these fellows entered the water, and he entered this mechila, this tunnel, this hollow, this fish tunnel, which is partially submerged. So beneath the riverbank, there's some of these tunnels. We can go in there, and there's still enough to breathe from. And that's where he did his fishing. And suddenly it gets dark, and he loses his way out. V'shaka chama, sun sets, v'lo yirah, pischa shel mechila, and he can't find the opening. He can't find his way out. His friend was concerned about his safety, about his well-being, and assumed the worst. His friend waited a little while, which served to confirm his colleague's death. And he went to his family, told them about her husband's drowning. The next morning, the sun rises, and this fellow hiding in the hollow suddenly finds his way out. And he notices the opening. And he makes his way out. And he comes home. He sees everybody crying and being masped him. Here I am. alive and well. My Rebbe responded to the story by saying, Kama gedolim divrei chacham. Look how great are the words of Chacham. Shamru, haven't they taught us that you never know? Sure, a person drops into a defined body of water, then you know he's presumed to be dead. But she'ein lahem soif, if it's ein lahem soif, ishtay asura, you never know where he is. He can't be presumed mace, as we saw in this story. Everybody took him for the dead, and look, here he is. And apparently the Yarden was considered ein lahem soif because it's a long, stretching river. You don't see all these sides. Says the Gemara, 1 second. In this case, how did he survive? Inside a mechila shel dagim, inside a hollow, a tunnel. That can happen anywhere. Even a mayim sheyesh lahem soif perhaps can have that. So why are you matter? When a person drowns in a mayim sheyesh lahem soif, maybe he took haven in a mechila shel dagim. Says the Gemara, if that's the case, mayim sheyesh lahem soif nami, even if it's a small body of water, perhaps he sought refuge in this mechila shel dagim. Answers the Gemara, it's not common to find that in a small body of water. Rashi says only a large body of water has a large fish who bore out these tunnels and these hollows, but a small body of water just has little teeny fish. Don't generally engage in making these mechilas. But mayim sheish lahem soif, in a small body of water, mechila shel dagim is lo shechicha. It's uncommon and therefore not something we have to reckon with. Amar Ravashi. Here comes a chiddush lahalach. Ha de amar rabbanan mayim she'em lahem soif. Ishtu asura. When we say that this huge body of water creates a concern for an aguna, that's only regarding an ordinary citizen. But if a young Talmud Chacham, a known personality, drowns in this manner, there's no concern. The presumption is that he indeed is no longer amongst the living. You know why? Because the Salak, if indeed he emerged from the other side, you would have heard about it. Wow, this Talmud Chacham arrived. Wow, Kadla Isla, everybody knows about it. Apparently it didn't happen. And his wife is mutter. Veloy, says the Gemara, it's incorrect. This distinction doesn't really hold water. Veloy, it doesn't matter whether it's a regular person, or a Talmud Chacham. When it's a mayim she'ein lahem soif, you never know. And his wife does not have a heter. Now, as we explained before, it's a chumrah midrabanan. So the evidin, if she really marries, so we can't force it to separate. But l'chatchila, she should not go and marry. Tanya, we learned in the Brayso, Amar Rabbi Gamliel, Pamachas. One time, I was traveling on a boat, and I noticed another boat nearby, which broke apart and capsized. And I was very distressed about one of its passengers, who was a Talmud Chacham, who drowned along with the rest of the passengers. Umanai, who was he? Rabbi Akiva. And I took him for the dead. I thought he was a victim of that accident. And when I went up to dry land, guess what? I get this visitor. I see none other than Rabbi Akiva himself coming and sitting before me learning halacha. I turned to him, B'nai, my son, who saved you? Amarli, he tells me, Hashkacha pratis, Dav shal sfinun nizdamali. Suddenly I noticed this plank of wood from the broken svina floating next to me. And I gripped it, I held on to it, v'chol gal v'gal. And every time I was faced with a wave, shebalai, which confronted me, I just bent my head down, I let it flow right over. I didn't try to fight it, I didn't try to resist it. I kept my grip on that plank of wood. And that took me to salvation. Rabbi Meir Shapiro used this Gemara to sell his idea, beautiful idea, of the Daf HaYomi. He says, look, we're in a tumultuous world, surrounded by storms, waves crashing from all sides. What's going to keep us? What's going to hold us? What's going to keep us afloat? The daf shel svina, the daf hayomi, he said. Hold on to that daf and confront those waves. Just keep your grip. Another daf till you get through Yevamos, daf kuf chaf aleph. You're almost there. The daf shel svina, the daf hayomi. Beautiful word. So this was Rabbi Akiva's response. The daf shel svina, that's what saved me. Mikan amru chachamim, based on the story, the chachamim said, Im yavayu rishaim al adam. If a person is confronted by rishaim or the Yetzer Hara, all kinds of difficulties that we experience throughout life, don't resist. Embrace your difficulties. Just bow, let it pass. Don't fight it. Don't resist it. Oh, Marty, says Rabbi Akiva speaking. He says, at that moment I said, look how great are the words of Chachamim. She'amru mayim she'esh lahem seif muteres, mayim she'en lahem seif asura, mayim which does not have a visible end. Isha is asur. You never know what happened to this person. He could have come up on the other side, such as what happened in this case with Rabbi Akiva. Tanya, Rabbi Akiva. Here it's Rabbi Akiva himself speaking. It so happens that I was once traveling on a boat. I noticed another boat capsizing. I was very distressed about one of the passengers at Talmud Chacham, who was Rabbi Meir. I thought he didn't survive the accident. However, when I come to this place, who comes to learn before me? Rabbi Meir. I tell him, B'ni, my son Mi'elcha, who saved you? Amarli tells me, Gal tir dani lechaver. Look, one wave took me and sent me over to the next one. V'chaver lechaver, I was tossed from one wave to the next. Until the wave just spit me out on dry land. That's how I survived. Amarti, Rabbi Akiva says, at that moment I exclaimed, look how great, how true, how exact are the Divrei Chachamim, who are concerned about any type of possibility when it's a mayim she'en lahem seif. She'amru mayim she'esh lahem seif ishte muteres, mayim she'en lahem seif ishte asura, because you never know. He might survive. Just as this case with Rabbi Meir. A fellow drops into a lion's den, Amy Denolav. There's no way to confirm his death. That's not going to serve as a confirmation of his death. You never know. Taisa says maybe the lions were not hungry at that time. It is very well known, by the way, that lions only attack when they're really desperately hungry. Otherwise, they don't just kill prey. So perhaps this person survived the incident. However, the chafura, if it's into a pit, malay and nochashim akrav, filled with snakes and scorpions, by the mere fact of just dropping on them, that instigates them and activates their attack. Midan all of that serves as a confirmation of his death. No, even in this case, you can't use it as a confirmation. Maybe he's an expert, a chaver, a fellow who knows how to chant and keep the snakes at bay. Tanakama says it's not really realistic to survive this because Agav Rashi says because he's falling on them, that activates them, masculate, they in turn attack him. A fellow falls into a fiery furnace. That serves as a confirmation of death. However, let's say he falls into a big vat with cooking wine or oil, that is enough confirmation. But he descends. If it's a vat filled with oil, in that case, it is sufficient confirmation. We know why, because the splattering oil will actually intensify the fire around him. However, if it's a vat filled with wine, that doesn't serve as a confirmation of death, because that splattering wine will actually counter the fire, or put out the fire somewhat, in which case eventually it can cool down, and this person perhaps will have come out later. The Chacham respond, no, true. Initially, the splattering wine will have a tempering effect on the flame, but eventually, the flame reinvigorates and comes back double as strong. Amr b'meir. Ma'asa be'echad shenafal b'aragod v'chulu. So our Mishnah featured a very fundamental machlekes between Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yossi. A fellow fell into a body of water. Nafalayam. So if it's a mayim she'elah seif, it's too big, it's too large to notice. All agree, l'chatchila, she's not meant to remarry. We had many stories where people survived these experiences. But if it's a mayim she'yesh lahem seif, a small, defined body of water, the Chachamim, Rabbi Yossi say, well, give him some time, after which you can confirm his death. Rabbi Meir says, based on a story with a fellow who dropped into the Boyer Goda, look, even after a while, he came up alive and well. Apparently you can survive even in such circumstances. Perhaps he found a pocket of air, etc. Even that is something which has to be reckoned with. But they disagree. Tanya, Amr Rav Meir. True, you have a story to tell, but that's an anomaly. It's a yotzim in akal. It's an exception. It's a nace. Ein maskir masanisim. You agree to us. You're masking it. That's a nace. Why? My masanisim. In which way was it miraculous? Because he went for 3 days without food or drink. That in itself is a nace. Is that the problem? The pasuk by Megillas Esther says, "V'tzumu alai v'al toichlu v'al tishtu." Right? Then it says shloishes yomim laila v'yayin. Right? Tanis Esther was a 3-day fast. And according to our Gemara, in contrast to the Medrash, who says it was, cut up into 3 days, separate fast days, where they ate at night, the Gemara here seems to learn that it was a continuous, uninterrupted 3-day fast. There you go. A person can survive 3 days without eating or drinking. Now you'll ask, what do you mean? It was a bar of water. Why wouldn't he drink? So some learned that it was not really royal ishti. It wasn't really drinkable. So was that the nace? 3 days without sustenance? You can survive 3 days. So that's not a nace. Elo deloy naim. The problem is he had no way to sleep, and a person cannot survive 3 days without sleep. A person gets up and makes a shvua, I will not sleep for 3 days continuously. He sent him to bed. He gets malchus for making a false shvua. It's just not possible. Vishan la'alter, you can send him right away to bed. There's no point in waiting, because your shvua is a false shvua. So this fellow survived 3 days underwater. Apparently he wasn't sleeping much. And the fact that he survived is an indication of that great miracle that he experienced. That's not a riot to you ordinary person. The Rabbi Meir, my time, what does Rabbi Meir do with that claim? What about sleeping? Amrav Kahana, keepin al gabi keepin havu. The structure beneath that bar was made of keepin, domes and structures and chambers and hollows, in which case he could have found himself a crevice to lean on and to fall asleep. V'Rabbanan, they say, no, the shisha havu. So it happens that the walls there were smooth and without any crevices or protrusions to lean on. There's no way he could have slept, because a person cannot really properly sleep standing up. So Rabbi Meir responds by saying, Yefshar, it's impossible to say, Deloy masrich v'nayim port. He could have found some sort of a crevice to lean on slightly and to doze a bit, and that would have kept him going for those 3 days. So the fact that he survived isn't necessarily an indication of nace, and therefore we can use that as a precedent, as an example for the halacha that, yes, there is a chashash, a realistic chashash of a person surviving that long underground. And there was this fellow Nechunya. He was a well digger. He would dig these water holes, these shichin, to supply water for Klal Yisrael during Aliyah L'Regel. So he took it upon himself to supply water for Klal Yisrael. This great mitzvah was his life's mission. And what happened to his own family? His own daughter fell into this great pit, this water hole that her father herself dug. They quickly ran to Chanina, please ask Hashem, daven, that she survives. A little while passed, he says, look, she's certainly safe, she's okay. A while later again he says, Shalom, she's okay. Shlishis. But a while beyond that, where it was no longer practical, It wouldn't be possible for her to survive under those conditions. At this point he says, look, she certainly emerged. She's safe. Amalem also, she came out. And that's exactly what happened. Amallah. So when she was brought to Rabbi Chanina, he turns to her, Biti, my daughter, Mihelach. Can you please tell me who saved you from that water? Amallah, she tells him, Zochar shel Rechelim. Nizdamali. A ram, a male of the Rachel family, a ram. The Farshim say it's reminiscent of the ram which was brought in exchange of Yitzchak Avinu by Akedas Yitzchak. This was a remes. This symbolized Akedah Mesiris Nefesh of Avram and Yitzchak. Suddenly I see this ram, v'zokei manhigoi, being led by an elderly person who was Avram Avinu. And he saved me. The Maharsha says, b'schus of the Mesiris Nefesh of Avram Avinu's Akedah Yitzchak. The Farshim elaborate on this, based on the Medrash, that Avram Avinu, on his way to the Akedah, was confronted by a river. And he walked into that river, b'mesiris nefesh, until it reached his neck. And he cried out to Hashem, Hoshia Hashem, right? Kibo mayim ad nafesh. Look, I'm succumbing to the waters. On the way to the mitzvah, and Hashem dried up the river. It was really just an assign. It's a representing another hurdle along the way. So b'schus that mesiris nefesh, she as well was safe from this water. So in fact, his prediction, his interpretation of things turned out to be true. Amrlois, they exclaimed in wonder to Rabbi Chanina Mendaisa, are you a miracle worker? How do you know this was going to happen? Amrloi Navi Yata, how do you know what happened? Amrlaim Loi Navi Anoichi, V'loi Mer Navi Anoichi, I'm not a Navi, nor a son of a Navi. There's nothing miraculous about this. He was downplaying his insight. He said, look, a simple calculation. Fairness. Elo dovar shat sadik misasik way. I figured. Digging wells. Arranging this water supply for Klal Yisrael is a mitzvah, which this tzaddik Nechunya was heavily involved in. This was his life's mission. Something which a tzaddik was involved with for the sake of mitzvah. Davar shat tzaddik misasik by yikashel by zari. Can it be that his own child should suffer from it? This chefzer shel mitzvah, which was his lifelong mission, should present a pitfall for his own child. I was certain she will survive. In fact, that's what happened. Amar Rabbi Abba, still, Afal became even so, Meis b'nei B'tzama, we should know that Nechunya, Chayfer Shichen's own son, passed away. B'tzama. Shenemar, Usvivav Nisar Ma'id. He died of thirst because the pasuk says, Usvivav Nisar Ma'id. The ones surrounding Hashem, the close ones, have a higher standard to live up to. Hashem is extra particular with the close ones. He's medakte kechut hasara, like a hair's breadth. Every little thing is accounted for. Now Tosfos points out, in contrast to the previous story with the daughter, where it was actually a bird that Nechunya himself dug, that was davar shat tzaddik misasak, where that could not have presented a michshol. But here, it wasn't the exact mamash the same thing. True, it was bitsama, it was a thirst-related accident, a water-related accident, but it wasn't that same thing that he was involved with, and therefore, it's not considered davar shat tzaddik misasak boy. Interesting, the Mefarshim point out, the Bala Musar point out, take a look at this fellow. This fellow was a tzaddik. Nechunya Chayfer Shichen. He invested his life into providing and giving and enabling Alila Regel. So you would think, look, how do I match up with everybody else? Way above, head and shoulders. I'm the one doing it. Look at how much I sacrificed for Klal Yisrael. Right? No, a person can never rest on his laurels. Apparently there was something deficient even within this provision. There was something lacking. Perhaps he overlooked something. He wasn't as diligent in providing water as he should have been. In this very activity, he was somewhat lacking, and therefore, Mida connected. Mida, he suffered. His son died b'tzama, which is a water-related tragedy. That's a chiddush. We all have our life's missions and our tafkid, our shlichus to fulfill. So even if a person does, and he works, and he says, look, this is my mission, I'm going to go for it, but you need to go all the way. A person can never be satisfied with just going 3/4 of the way. In fact, the closer you are to Hashem, the more Hashem expects of you. And that serves you well. It's not a liability. It serves you well. The Ramchal says it's good for us to have higher standards, and it brings us even higher and higher to Olam Haba. We sit in the front, box seats. So that's the concept. Hashem is medaktik with the tzaddikim, kechut hatzara. Rabbi Yehuda Kessler, we have another source for the same concept. Keil Naretz, Kedoshim, Rabba, V'noira, Kol Sriva, B'shi, Hashem's moira, Hashem's awe, fear, pachad, descends on the ones that are close to Him because He demands more of them. Continues the mission. We know that a single aid, even an Isha, is to be trusted that a fellow passed away, and this enables his wife to remarry. Here comes a chiddush. Afilu shama min hashnoshim. He overhears some women speaking. It wasn't meant as testimony. He just hears some conversation. What are they saying? Oimros, Mesish, plain this fellow passed away. Die, that's enough to confirm his death. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, even children. Afilu shama min hatinoikas. He hears the children speaking amongst themselves. Oimrim, look, hareni oichin, lisboid, velikbar, sish plainly, we're going to bury and eulogize that and that person. That's enough. Now, when an aid comes and tells us that a person passed away, we take it as fact. Ben shu miskaven, whether his intention is to inform us, uben she'eini miskaven, even if he's just having a casual conversation. Rashi calls it masiach lefi tumah, just a casual conversation. That's enough for us to base a heter on. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, depends who be Yisrael if he's Jewish. Afal pishu miskaven, in that case, yeah, even if he's actually trying to be matir the Isha, you believe him. But by a guy, no, just the opposite. If he is trying to accomplish the heter, he's trying to testify, to formally testify, you don't believe him. The only time you believe the guy is if he's masiach levitumah, if he's just having a casual conversation. The mission says if he overhears the children speaking about the fact that they're on the way to a lavaya, that's enough. Maybe they never made it there. Maybe they're just imagining things. Children very often confuse reality with imagination and fiction with fact. I once heard from a chinuch master. He says people get perturbed when their children speak to them, in an untruthful manner. Many children don't even see it as a lie. They imagine, they visualize things. They confuse, fiction with reality. So children are speaking. They're on the way to the levaya. They're just talking. Who says it really happened? Amar Vida Amar Shmuel the Ka'amri, because they're speaking about something that already happened. Hareinu boin milis boy umilik barisish plani. They're claiming to be on the way back from the levaya. Then you know it's true. Asks the Gemara. So what are they saying? We're coming back from Kvura to Ruven. V'doma kamtza ba'alma. Maybe it was just a grasshopper, shachavli, that passed away there. V'asikulej al shmein. They decided to call the grasshopper Ruven. That's what they're speaking about. They're playing, playing life. It's not really Ruven. It's just a grasshopper. So how can you rely on it? Answers the Gemara, the Ka'amri. Because you hear them giving details. Kain v'kain rabbanan avu hasam. There was such and such rabbanan at the levaya. Kain v'kain sabdoni avu hasam. Such and such eulogy. So we know it's a reflection of reality. So Mishnah concludes by saying that a guy is only neman if it's an informal discussion. But if he's being miskaven le'edus, perhaps he's driven by some personal agenda, you can't believe him. That's only a concern if he's coming to be matir the isha. But if he's just coming to tell us the fact, I want you to know that Reuven died, unrelated to being matir his wife, right? He's not alluding to that at all. I want to tell you about Reuven's death. So even if he's coming in a formal fashion, he's not just schmoozing, not just having a casual conversation, that's okay. Edus, we accept it as fact. So there are 3 levels, right? There's Masiach Lefi Tumah, just a casual conversation, which lends to the credence of what he's saying. He's not agenda-driven, just telling us a story. And then we have on top of the list, we have the niskaven lahater. He's coming with formal edus. I want to be mata the isha. Then you're concerned that perhaps he's driven by personal agenda. And we have the middle level, which is niskaven lahaid. He's not just schmoozing, but he's also not coming to tell us to be mata the wife. He's just coming to tell us about this person's death. Says if you did the name of Shmuel, that's okay. We treat it like Masiach Levi Tumai. We don't question the validity of what he's saying. Heichi Adiran, how would you know what he has in mind? How is he presenting his testimony? What words is he using? Amar Rabbi Yosef. Well, it depends. He is Sius Ishta. He comes to Bezdin. Reuben died. Enable his wife. Allow his wife to remarry. Here it's clearly trying to be mati her. You can't believe him. But if he just says Meis Stam, he comes to Bezdin. I want you to know Reuben passed away. That's called Niskavan La'edus, and according to Shmuel, that's okay. It's Mernami, Amr Shlakish. Shlakish as well makes this distinction. Concern is only if he's coming to be matter, then you're concerned about agenda. We're just coming to tell us the fact, even if it's in a formal manner. I do say Edus, we trust him. He disagrees. Didn't we have such a story involving the Tzaddik Bu'ushya Baribi, that was his name? Shehitirim, there's a Gersha Shehitris. He took issue. He challenged 85 Chachamim. Amar lehem. So he told the Chamishim, 85 Skenim, Lo Shanu, the concern is only if Elishan is Kavan Lahat, if he's clearly coming to be mati the wife. Then we can't believe it. Avan is Kavan Lahoid, we're just coming to offer testimony about the incident. Edus, we accept it as fact. That was his version. But the Chacham, the other 85, disagreed. They said, well, that's too formal to believe. So you have a difference of opinion regarding this mid-level type of presentation. So according to the Chacham, if it's Niskavan Lahater, no good. Niskavan Laha'id as well is no good. So what's left? Elamas Nisan Diktani. What about the Mishnah which says, Mishnah says, if a guy has any kavana for Edus, you can't believe it. And according to what you just told me, it includes all these cases. You never believe him. So then when could you trust him? Answers the Gemara on the lowest level. If he's just engaged in casual discussion, it's an article in the paper, it's not something which was meant for Edus, then we can take it as fact. As in the following two stories. Kiyahu, like this guy, he was walking along and calling out, Man Ika, is there anybody Bey in the family of Chivoy? Is anybody from his family? Man Ika Bey Chivoy, anybody from the family of Chivoy here? You should know, Shachiv Chivoy, that Chivoy passed away. I can tell you passed away. So despite the fact that the announcer was a guy, we accepted it as fact. Rav Yosef allowed his wife to remarry. Why? There was no edus. He was walking along and announcing the news. It was Masiach Lefi Tumah. Likewise, there was this guy walking along and saying, Vaile, oh, woe to me, woe to the Leparsha, this horse rider, Zriza, an expert horse rider, woe to him. This rider, the Hava Pumpadisa, who was in Pumpadisa, the Shachav, who I personally know, passed away. He was Masiach Lefi Tumah, and therefore the answer of Yosef, Rava, some say it was Rava, allowed his wife to remarry Lidvisu. Continues the Gemara. There was another fellow walking along and announcing as follows: Man Ika Bei Chasa. Anybody here from the family of Chasa, I want you to know that Tava Chasa drowned. Now, this was actually in a large, extra large body of water, which we call Mayim She'ein Lahem Soif. So this fellow claimed that he died. He drowned in this body of water, never surfaced. Amar Rav Nachman responds, Halekim, in the name of Hashem, a lashon of Shvuah, Oish, an expression of anguish. Achlu Kavri, the fish, consumed L'chasa, this fellow Chasa, poor victim, he's consumed by fish. He died. Says the Gemara, Midiburi de Rav Nachman. In response to Rav Nachman's expression, as a result of this expression of anguish, Ozla Dvisu, the Chasa, Chasa's own wife, went ahead, thinking that Rav Nachman's expression of Alakim, Machlul Kavri, is a confirmation of her husband's death. She used that as a heter to remarry. She remarried. Nobody forced her to separate from her husband. Why? What do you mean? She wasn't allowed to marry. That's only lichatchila. Amar Rav Ashi, Shema, we learn from here. Ha the Amar Rabbanon Mayim She'en Lahem Soif Yishtasru Udo Chachamim don't allow an isha to remarry in this case. Perhaps he resurfaced on the other side of the river. But it's a chumrah, after all. It's more likely that he passed away. There's a roiv that he passed away. So it's a chumrah. Hanami lechatchila, she can't remarry without confirmation. Aval inase, but if she did marry, we don't force her to leave him. So in this case, she should not have married. But b'diavad, we leave it as such. Ikadam, there was another version. Ansabar of Nachman, Ludvisur. Nachman himself allowed his wife to remarry. Why? This was an exceptional case. Even though his whereabouts were unknown, and it was a Mayim She'en Lahem Soif. What was his rationale? Omar, he figured, this fellow Chasa was a famous person, famous personality. Gavar Rabbi, you say. Imisa the Salik, if indeed he would have emerged from that body of water anywhere along the coast, Kol Yisrael Lemisa would have become common knowledge. Everybody would have spoken about it. The fact that we haven't heard from him is an indication that he died. Veloyi concludes the Gemara, it's not so. We don't make distinctions. We had this Gemara in Amud Aleph regarding a Talmud Chacham. It doesn't matter who he is. Loishno Gavar Rabba, Loishno Lav Gavar Rabba. It doesn't matter if he's a great man, if he's a known personality, or just an ordinary citizen. The Eved in the Chatchil, but the Eved, if she remarries, fine, we leave it, but the Chatchila, she should not remarry in this case. Interesting, the Gilyan Ashas Rekiv Eger points out that Rav Nachman actually made a shvua that Chasa passed away. Why? He had no personal confirmation. There was no edus. In fact, the Gemara says, at least according to the first version, even Rav Nachman agrees that she shouldn't remarry. So how can he make a shvua that Chasa passed away? So he says a chiddush, since in most cases a person would not survive this type of incident, and we find that throughout the entire Torah we follow Rav. Rav is a solid basis in halacha, right? So it's enough for him to make a shvur that he died. Although when it comes to remarriage, we're machmer. He says, Ba'arayis we're machmer. L'chatchila, she shouldn't remarry. But nevertheless, Rav Nachman was able to use that information and make a shvur that he died. Interesting chiddush. Okay, so bottom line, what did we learn in today's daf? We give the 3 days as the deadline in terms of identifying a victim. Rabbi Yehuda Bava disagrees. It says it all depends on the circumstances and all the factors involved. The Gemara has a tzad. Maybe he prolongs it, maybe he shortens it. We're not sure. In any case, it's all relative to the particular situation. A person who is lost in a body of water, if it's a Mayim She'en Lahem Soif, which basically means, should you stand at the place where the fellow, dropped into the water, and look around, you would not be able to notice all the boundaries of that water. It's too big to be noticed. So then, you never know what happened. Perhaps he was swept away by currents or by waves. Although Roiv would say she's muta, but l'chatchila wa machmer, but the Eved, we leave her with her new husband. If it's a Mayim She'esh Lahem Soif, a small defined body of water, Shitas Chachamim is that she is mutter. Rav Meir says, look, I have a story to back up an Isser here in this case, because this fellow was down there 3 days and suddenly he surfaced. Apparently, it's possible to survive. We had several stories with the Daf Shel Sfina, with the Rabbi Akiva, with Rabbi Gamliel, Rav Meir, who survived this type of ordeal, and that backs up the halacha that Mayim She'en Lahem Soif. You never know. Gemara speaks about lions then, about a furnace, about snakes. We had the story with Dover Shat Sadik Misasik Ba Yikoshel Ba Zare B'chinen Medoisa. We had Hashem is Medaktik Misfiv Kuchot Asara. And we spoke about even working based on casual conversation. So you hear the Nashim or the children speaking, you can base your heter even on that. Regarding a guy, if it's Masich Lefi Tumoy, casually conversing, that's okay. But if he's trying to be Mati the Isha, we do not trust it. If it's only Kavan L'Shem Edus, we have a Machlekes in the Gemara, and the Gemara concludes that in a Mayim She'en Lahem Soif, l'chatchila, she should not remarry. irrespective of whether the person is a known personality or not. You never know. Hashem could do anything. Perhaps the person survived his ordeal, as in the story of Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Meir, who was saved, who survived these type of circumstances. I read recently that there was a fellow who survived that famous tsunami in Japan a couple of years ago, and he was out at sea for weeks and weeks. And eventually they discovered him. He was, I think, on an island, and you never know. Hashem could do anything. All the best to you, and Hatzlacha Rabbah.